All right, so this one's going to be a little different here. This one's more of a discussion video. It's freedom of choice versus correctness in the audiophile community. How much should you let your ears acclimate to a headphone sound before it becomes too incorrect or too far off? I'm going to begin with my personal experience here. So I began with the AKG K7XX, and these are an offering from Mastrop, $200. I don't think they're worth 200, but I've gotten a great, deal of use out of these. So I think I definitely got my money's worth, and I do not regret spending 200 on these. But nowadays you can get them pre-owned for like 100 to 120. That's much better for what these have to offer, even if it is pre-owned. Just look for a good condition pair. Anyway, so these are more of a darker sound. They have a very wide soundstage, very comfortable, the most comfortable headphone I've used by far. That includes the HD800 on that list, by the way. These are more comfortable than those for my ears. Definitely an excellent headphone and one of my favorites of all time, even if their sound isn't 100% the best thing out there. So anyway, these are a darker sound signature, which is why I use them for casual listening to pretty much anything that isn't music. Or if it's like, it could be movies, games, YouTube videos. It's just for casual. Just put them on. You need audio. You put them on. You're good to go. So I began with these, and those are great, which means my ears began acclimated to a darker sound signature. Then over time I got the 6XX and, well, now the 600s. These were a somewhat brighter, more intense sound signature, and my ears, I wanted to love these, so I let my ears acclimate to these. And lucky for me, these are considered very, very natural, very, very tonally balanced, very correct, which is why I wanted to let my ears acclimate to this. And I did. And I used these for a good while, probably a year, year and a half, before I decided to go ahead and, oh my God, I scratched them. Before I decided to go ahead and jump onto the HD800 by Sennheiser as well. And these were, well, these are an excellent pair of headphones. I did my review on them. They have a lot of pros and a lot of cons, but the con I want to talk about here is that they're very tonally questionable as far as the sound spectrum goes, especially in the treble of all areas right there. But I really wanted to love these, and I could not do it without an EQ, because there are some tracks out there where the EQ, the treble gets so bright that I couldn't get used to them. And because they are considered tonally incorrect, I decided to go ahead and EQ the treble down a bit. So they're still bright. They're still a bright headphone as far as my EQ is concerned now, but they're not as bright as they used to be. And now, after using them for probably three months, I want to say, my ears have grown acclimated to that sound signature. And now I really, really like these because of their pros, minus the majority of the cons that they have to offer. But after doing so, I go back to the HD600s, and even though I can listen to them, and even though I do obviously like them, they just don't sound as intense or in your face as they used to at some point. They obviously, by comparison, they sound a little more narrow, a little more relaxed, a little more boring per se. Not to say that I don't enjoy them anymore. I definitely do. And because they are tonally correct, this is why I chose to keep them, even if I end up getting more flagship headphones endgame down the line. So this brings me to this. How much should you let your ears acclimate to a headphone like Beyerdynamic or, and I'm not saying this is I'm not saying Beats or audiophile, but I'm just giving an example, an incredibly bass heavy headphone that is obviously incorrect tonally, as opposed to like an HD600 or something else that is considered correct by the audiophile community or by the, let's say, the Harman spectrum. So you've got these right here. How much should you let your ears acclimate before it is considered incorrect or before it is just not worth it anymore? Because this is the point I want to bring up. Let's say you get yourself a pair of biodynamics and they are incredibly treble heavy and incredibly bassy, like an extreme V shape, but obviously they have some pros to them, which is why people like them. Like, I'm sure they have good imaging, good sound stage, clarity because of the quote unquote, whatever. My opinion on trebles kind of, on biodynamics is kind of mixed, but whatever. That's not the topic. Let's say you use that headphone for years and years and years, and then it dies out on you, and you want to go, like, you want to try something new, and you go back to something like the K7XX's kind of sound signature, or the 600 sound signature, something darker, something more boring. And then at that point, you're going to be so far into one side of the spectrum that it's going to be really, really tough to go back to the other side or to a more centered uh, sound signature, something more neutral. And at that point, you're essentially screwed. You have to stick with that kind of sound signature because it's what your ears have grown acclimated to. And so that's the topic for today. That right there. What is the correct balance between correct and personal preference? What is the correct balance? What do you guys think? Me personally, like I said, I got used to the HD800s. And I don't know how good that is really, because going back to the 600s, it's just not as magical as it once was. But obviously, I keep them around for reviewing purposes because they're still very correct, and I still love them. But anyway, that's the point for today. Go ahead and write down your opinion in the discussion below, and tell me what you think about um, correctness versus personal preference. How far should your ears grow acclimated to a certain headphone before it is considered incorrect, even by your own standards? Go ahead and leave that below, and I'll catch you in the next one. There are more reviews coming out, by the way. Definitely got a few more products that I'm going to review, and I will release in the near future. So go ahead and stick around for that. Obviously, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. That whole shtick thing with the YouTube thing. All right, that's it.